is Atlantic Television Network. Welcome to Global News. First, the highlights. Fubara wants against unauthorized political meetings. Tinubu urges Senate to endorse state pleas. Senate committee issues arrest warrant for CAC Registrar General. 13 banks about to match the one-way capitalization deadline. Pakistan militants kill 15 police personnel and 4 civilians. Super Falcons camp gets 15 players ahead of Cameroon clash, and court investigate death of Chimamanda Adichie's son. Governor Siminalayi Fubara has threatened to sack any government appointee who convenes meetings without his authorization. Fubara gave this warning during the swearing-in ceremony of the new secretary to the state government, Dr. Dagogo Wokoma, and Chief of Staff Barrister Sonny Ewule on Thursday. The swearing-in was held at the Executive Council Chamber of Government House. Fubara also said the appointments are intended to advance the state's development agenda rather than create problems or serve as instruments of political patronage, and further reminded permanent secretaries approaching retirement to prepare their handover notes to ensure smooth transitions. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Yesom Wiki, has described the death of the senator representing River Southeast, Senator not only to the Ogoni people of River State, but to the entire country, describing the late senator as a dependable ally who stood by his friends even during trying times. Senator Biggie died at 64 last week, Thursday, after a brief illness. A statement in London on Thursday by the Minister's Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications and Social Media, Lere Olayinka, the FCT Minister who led the delegation of River State leaders on Thursday to visit the wife of Senator Mpigi, Mrs. Patricia Obiageri Mpigi, and her children, promised to stand by the family and ensure a befitting burial for the deceased. The minister was accompanied by his 2 sons, Jordan and Joaquin, Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, Martin Amewule, Senators Magnus Abe, Olwen Nyeso, and Olaka Wogo, as well as River State Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Aaron Chukwemeka, Felix Nweke, Kenneth Chikere, and Honorable Dum Deko. Bayelsa State Police Command has arrested 5 suspects in connection with the death of a 38-year-old man accused of allegedly raping a lady. The lifeless body of Samuel Ofiri was dumped by the roadside along Kakata Road in Otueke, Ogbea local government area. The State Commissioner of Police CP Yamad Daniel Edebo said the 5 suspects have been arrested and warns against jungle justice and mob actions, urging citizens to report suspicious activities to the police. The Delta State government has called on eligible indigents to apply for the 78th regular course intake of the Nigerian Defense Academy (NDA) as the institution's online application portal is now officially open. Bureau for Orientation and Communications, Dr. Fred Latimore Ogenesigbe, said the NDA's comprehensive academic and military training programs are in line with the quality education, wealth creation, and employment generation objectives of the MORE agenda, championed by the state governor Sheriff Oborevwori. He confirmed that the application window for the 78th regular course is currently open and will remain so until Thursday, 30th April 2026, adding that eligibility for the screening test, admission card, and subsequent screening is contingent upon candidates achieving a minimum UTME score of 210 and above for engineering courses and 180 and above for arts, social sciences, and sciences. Suspected gunmen have killed a high-ranking palace chief in Idua Kingdom, a southwest local government area of Edo State, and abducted 2 of his daughters. The victim chief, Jima Jacob Ogboy, was reportedly attacked at his residence on Monday night when the assailants stormed the house and shot the chief at close range. His wife was also attacked with machetes and other dangerous weapons, leaving her seriously injured. One of the deceased sons, Lucky, said he had stepped out to purchase an item when the attack occurred, and the incident prompted an emergency meeting of elders to deliberate on possible steps towards securing the release of the abducted doctors and addressing the underlying causes of the attack. The traditional ruler of the community, His Royal Highness Alhaji Ahmedu Momo, appealed to the Edo State government and security agencies to urgently intervene and strengthen security in the area, and further decried the increasing attacks on farmlands by suspected herdsmen. When contacted, the spokesperson for the Edo State Police Command, CSP Eno Ekwedem, confirmed the incident and said investigations had commenced, adding that the Commissioner of Police, Monday Agbonika, had visited Ekpoma, Edo Central, alongside other senior effort officers to address the security situation. Edo State Police Command has arrested about 113 suspected kidnappers in a day in the state. Police Public Relations Officer of the command, ASP Eno Ekwedem, who disclosed this in a statement on Thursday, 26, 2026 in Benin City, said the suspects were arrested on Thursday in joint operation with the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, vigilante groups and local hunters. She said the arrested suspects are currently undergoing thorough profiling to ascertain their level of involvement, and the suspects and their collaborators were arrested at identified Zango settlements in Agbade and Irekben, where they converged to receive ransom payment. According to the statement, in the daring intelligence-driven operation carried out in the early hours of today, at about 0300 hours of 26th February 2026, the Edo State Police Command, under the decisive and result-oriented leadership of the Commissioner of Police, Edo State Command, Monday Agbonika, launched a massive joint security sweep across strategic locations in Edo Central. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner of Police, Monday Agbonika, said the command's onslaught against kidnapping organized networks will remain relentless and uncompromising, adding that the police would not only target armed elements forest, but will equally intensify efforts to degrade their financial and human support systems across the state. All Progressives Congress in Cross River State has vowed to sweep all polls in the 2027 general elections, pledging to Basi Otu and President Bola Tinubu's re-election. Yandnap commended party members for demonstrating continued unity and harmony, stressing that the unity within the party is the culture in the state and widely recognized by the national structure of the party, and also warned against actions that could threaten party cohesion. He reassured stakeholders that both President Bola Tinubu and the Governor Basi Otu are committed to the welfare of party members and determined to leave lasting legacies. Amnesty has alleged that the police unit established to combat kidnapping and armed robbery in Imo State has become a hub of alleged extrajudicial executions, torture and systematic extortion, popularly known as Tiger Base, as stated in the report, operates under the Imo State Police Command in Owerri. Amnesty International Nigeria Director Issa Sanusi, in the report issued by its social media and communications officer Michael Christian, said the unit had become notorious for abuse of power, stressing that many detainees were held for weeks or months without being formally charged or brought before a court. Former detainees further told Amnesty International that statements were often extracted under torture. Former detainees described being beaten with iron rods and cables, cut with knives, and further alleged the existence of a thriving illegal point of sale operation within the detention facility, where relatives of detainees were required to withdraw and transfer money on the premises to secure release, while in some instances detainees were allegedly taken from their cells and shot. Amnesty International described severe overcrowding at the facility, with more than 70 detainees reportedly crammed into cells measuring about 12 feet by 12 feet, while many cells have no windows and only one overflowing toilet, forcing detainees to eat, sleep, and relieve themselves in the same confined space. Ohanes Ndibo has felicitated with Ebonyi State Governor Francis Nwifuru on his 51st birthday, hailing him as the transformational and responsible leader. A statement by the National Publicity Secretary Ohanes Ndibo. Worldwide Dr. Eze Chijuku said Nwifuru's dedication to public service stands as a testament to the ideas of responsible leadership and selfless service. Chukwu said, under Nwifuru's stewardship, Ebonyi State has witnessed impactful reforms and visible progress in key sectors including education, infrastructure, healthcare, youth empowerment, and social welfare, stressing that his visionary approach to governance continues to inspire confidence and hope among netizens and stakeholders alike. Ongoing dispute between labor unions and the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, reached its 7th day on Thursday as members of the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC Trade Union, Congress TUC, and the Food, Beverage and Tobacco Senior Staff Association FOBTOB staged a demonstration at the agency's Isholo office in Lagos. Protesters chanting, "No work for us, no work for you," access to the office from approximately 7 a.m., preventing staff from entering the premises for nearly 2 hours, while operations were temporarily suspended until officers from the Nigeria Police Force Odio Lower Division intervened, reopening the entrance by around 11 a.m. The protest remained peaceful with no reports of violence. Union officials affirmed that the demonstration would persist until their grievances are fully addressed, including the reopening of sealed factories and reversal of subsequent staff dismissals, and the industrial action follows NAFDAC's enforcement of the ban on sachet alcohol and 10 CL PET bottled products, which has led to the closure of numerous indigenous factories, depots, and warehouses across the country. During the protest, TUC Secretary Comrade Anthony Onyaga condemned the enforcement under Director General Mojisola Adeyeye, describing it as unfair and economically harmful, while the unions highlighted the impacts of the shutdowns, warning that job losses are affecting families and creating financial strain for workers. The unions are demanding the immediate reopening of affected factories, depots, and warehouses, as well as the need for structured dialogue and regulatory measures rather than punitive action. Osun State Governor has called on payroll consultant Sally Tibos to present any evidence in her possession to anti-graft agencies investigating alleged irregularities in the state's payroll review process. A statement in Osogbo, the spokesperson to Governor Ademola Adeleke Olawale Rashid said ongoing investigations by relevant authorities should be allowed to run their course without what he described as a... The statement also addressed repeated references to the Chief of Staff to the Governor, Kasim Akinleye, whose conduct the consultant had criticized in a public comment, adding that the Chief of Staff acted within his official responsibilities during the payroll audit review, describing his role as that of a gatekeeper who ensured due process was followed. He also said the consultant's firm was engaged in January 2023, shortly after the present administration assumed office, and that the audit report under discussion concerned the payroll inherited from the previous government. The spokesperson alleged that the circulation of recorded telephone conversations without authorization constituted a breach of applicable laws, adding that legal steps were being considered, while his aides had acted to prevent what he described as irregular recommendations that could have adversely affected legitimate workers. Nigerian Union of Pensioners, Osun State Chapter, has described the enrollment of 8 members in the Osun Health Insurance Scheme by Governor Ademola Adeleke as a lifesaver. According to the union, the enrollment had reduced the death rates among pensioners and eased their financial burden, especially in the face of rising medical costs across the country. Adding that the Adeleke administration enrolled 20,000 pensioners in its health insurance scheme free of charge in 2025 in a bid to ensure they have access to quality health care services. A statement by the Osun NUP Secretary Lawrence Aina said the policy had afforded retirees the opportunity to access quality health services, adding that the monthly pension received by members was not enough to cover feeding, let alone medical bills, stressing that the health insurance scheme had provided significant relief for pensioners. A retiree, Kolawole Kolesho, speaking with newsmen on the success of the policy at the NUP headquarters in Osogbo, said that since enrolling in the health insurance scheme, he now uses pension mainly to feed his family, and further described the health insurance scheme as a major welfare package for retirees and commended the governor while urging him to sustain the initiative. Nigeria Delta Development Commission has called on residents of Ondo State to guard the Commission's projects located in their communities against vandalism, stressing that many of its completed projects have either been stolen or vandalized by unscrupulous members of host communities. The Executive Director of Corporate Services of the NDDC, Mr. Ifedayo Adbengunde, who disclosed this at a one-day capacity building engagement program for stakeholders held in Okitipupa local government area of the state, and represented at the event by the State Director of the Commission, Mr. Kunle Karaki, said vandalism, theft, neglect, and destruction of public assets undermine development efforts and slow progress in critical sectors such as electricity, roads, and other basic amenities meant to improve the well-being of the Niger Delta region. Abegunde said the stakeholders meeting was imperative to deliberate on how to safeguard the Commission's projects in host communities and urged residents to be more vigilant. Also speaking, Dr. Ajibola Shekoni of the Center for Peace and Security Studies at Lagos State University, in a paper titled Strengthening Community Ownership for Sustainable NDDC Project Monitoring and Protection Against Vandalism and Theft, attributed the issue of vandalism and theft of NDDC projects not only to security failures but also to sociological factors. In the paper delivered by Mr. Enyola Akinshola, a former Chief Press Secretary to former Governor Olusegun Miko, said local communities in the mandate area have continued to feel disconnected from the wealth produced on their ancestral lands, while the Director of Peace and Development Projects of the NDDC, Mr. Francis Abayomi, urged stakeholders to shun the destruction of government projects. Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps Kwara State Command have arrested 12 suspected illegal immigrants from Mali in the Akere-Biata area of Ilorin following a tip-off from concerned residents. The suspects were reportedly occupying a two-bedroom apartment rented through a local agent under suspicious circumstances. A statement issued by the command's public relations officer ASC-1 Ayula Michael Shola, the Corps said items recovered during the operation included 9 mobile phones, 2 international passports, identification number, a wristwatch, keys and cash, among others. The state commandant Bala Bodinga said the command had commenced a thorough investigation to determine the circumstances surrounding their presence in the state and to ascertain whether they had any criminal links or unlawful intentions, adding that the arrest came amid growing security concerns in the state. He urged residents to remain vigilant, report suspicious activities, and cooperate with security agencies to ensure the safety of their communities. Residents of they staged protests at the government house demanding answers over the disappearance of Abubakar Idris, popularly known as Dadi Yatta, and calling for a public audit of the administration of former Governor Nasser El-Rufai. The protesters, comprising youths and women, gathered at the UTC roundabout in Kaduna Metropolis before marching to the seat of power, chanting solidarity songs and carrying placards with bold inscriptions. Dadi Yatta, a lecturer and social media commentator, was abducted by government from his Kaduna residence in 2019, a development that continues to generate controversy within and outside the state. Addressing journalists during the protest, one of the leaders, Anas Yusuf, said the demonstration was not politically motivated but aimed at accountability, and also demanded an independent public security audit of the El-Rufai administration, insisting that issues surrounding insecurity during his tenure must be thoroughly examined. They further called for full disclosure of the $350 million World Bank loan obtained under the former governor, urging the state government to publish the loan agreement and a detailed breakdown of how the funds were spent. Taraba State Governor Dr. Abu Kefas has presided over the swearing-in of a new High Court judge, 2 Qadis of the Sharia Court of Appeal, newly appointed special advisors, and also inaugurated members of the Persons Living with Disabilities Commission. The ceremony, which took place at the executive chamber of T.Y. Danjuma House, drew top government officials, members of the judiciary, political stakeholders, traditional rulers, religious leaders, and other dignitaries from across the state. Those sworn in include Justice Mansoura Bagami and as judge of the High Court, Qadi Ali Yaya Abubakar and Qadi Yakubu Mohammed as Qadis of the Sharia Court of Appeal. In his address, Governor Kefas described the occasion as a significant milestone in his administration's efforts to strengthen the judiciary, enhance governance, and promote inclusivity in Taraba State, adding that a strong and independent judiciary remains the bedrock of democracy. The governor had charged the newly sworn-in judicial officers to uphold justice, fairness, and integrity in the discharge of their duties. He urged them to dispense justice without fear or favor, noting that public trust in the legal system depends largely on their commitment to the rule of law. Governor Kefas also administered the oath of office to the newly appointed special advisors, urging them to leverage their experience and expertise to advance the administration's development agenda. He stated that the appointments were based on merit and their proven capacity to deliver results that will positively impact the lives of citizens. Bauchi State Police Commanders personnel and enhanced weapons communities in a renewed effort to curb banditry and prevent any breakdown of law. And speaking now, Habib said the move followed the recent resurgence of security concerns in Guana and Kafin Duguri, all located in Alkaleri local government area, adding that the deployment was carried out by the police, the military, Department of State Services, as well as the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps and other security agencies. According to him, the collaborative efforts of security agencies supported by the Bauchi State government are already yielding positive results, while the affected border communities had long faced security challenges due to the infiltration of criminal elements from neighboring states. He also reassured residents of Mansour Town, who reportedly fled their homes over fears of attack, that the security situation remained under control, and assured residents of Alkaleri local government area that there will be no safe haven for bandits in the area, stressing that security operations will be sustained. Commissioner of Police Sani Omonori Ali, who stressed on the importance of community cooperation and security, also urged residents to promptly provide intelligence to security agencies and report suspicious movement, strange faces, or objects within their communities. Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has warned health officials in Borno State to desist from unethical practices such as overbilling, bribery, diversion of drugs and nepotism in staff recruitment under the guise of tribe or religion. The Resident Anti-Corruption Commissioner overseeing Borno and Yobe States, Linus Gubi, gave the warning during an interactive session with heads of state hospitals and departments in Maiduguri, the state capital. Speaking to journalists after the session, Gubi said the engagement formed part of the Commission's mandate to educate public officers on issues relating to corrupt practices and also identified recurring unethical practices in hospitals to include diversion of drugs, procurement processes, overbilling, falsification of claims, breaches of patient confidentiality, and nepotism in recruitment. He urged health officials to imbibe national ethics and values such as integrity, discipline, dignity of labor, justice and fairness, professionalism, patriotism, and leadership by example. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back after this break.
From the line across the ocean to the land
This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network, and now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has requested the National Assembly to begin the process of amending the Constitution to incorporate state police as part of efforts to tackle the nation's security challenges. The president made the appeal during an interfaith breaking of fast with members of the Senate at the presidential villa. Nigeria is extremely challenged by terrorism, banditry, and insurgency, stressing that the constitutional amendment had become imperative to enable the country to secure its forests from bandits and free freedom from fear. He commended the senators for their unwavering support in addressing security challenges, pledging not to take their collaboration for granted, stressing that the call for state police has gained momentum nationwide, with state governors, traditional rulers, and security experts advocating for its establishment as a solution to Nigeria's security situation. Tinubu also said policing in Nigeria is exclusively under federal control, with states depending on the Nigerian Police Force for internal security operations, and the centralized structure has been criticized as inadequate to address the diverse and localized nature of security threats across the 36 states. The president also credited the National Assembly for supporting his administration's economic reforms, particularly the removal of fuel subsidy and the unification of the foreign exchange market, and also claimed that Nigeria now enjoys economic stability and prosperity, urging senators to be proud of the current moment. President Bola Tinubu says the newly decorated Acting Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, will intensify efforts at grapples with banditry, terrorism, and other criminal activities. The president, who personally decorated this with his new rank at the State House, Abuja, said the appointment comes at a defining, expressing confidence in the new police chief's ability to restore public confidence in the force, and also drew on his personal knowledge as Lagos State Governor that he believes in the dedication of the new IGP while serving in Lagos. Tinubu outlined specific expectations for the new police chief, including discipline, professionalism, and interagency collaboration, and also urged the new IGP to draw from the experience of his predecessor, Kayode Egbetekun, who attended the ceremony. Speaking to the outgoing IGP, Tinubu expressed gratitude for his service while linking his legacy to the success of his successor, adding that this was previous role as principal staff officer to Egbetekun positioned him well for the new assignment. In his response, Disu pledged to justify the confidence reposed in him, vowed to end impunity and enforce zero tolerance to corruption within the force, and further expressed confidence in his successor's ability to surpass his achievements. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has extended the ban on the export of raw shell nuts for a further 1 year, from February 26, 2026 to February 25, 2027. His special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, who disclosed this in a statement, said the decision underscores the commitment of his administration to advancing industrial development, strengthening domestic value addition, and supporting the objectives of the renewed hope agenda, and that the ban aims to deepen the processing capacity within Nigeria, enhance knife bodies, and promote the growth of Nigerian exports anchored on value-added products. He also authorized the two ministers of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment and the Presidential Food Security Coordination Unit to coordinate the implementation of a unified evidence-based national framework that aligns industrialization, trade, and investment priorities across the shell nut value chain. The President equally approved the adoption of an export framework established by the Nigerian Community Exchange, NCX, and the withdrawal of all waivers allowing the raw shell nuts, and also ordered that any excess supply of raw shell nuts should be exported exclusively through the NCX framework in accordance with the approved guidelines. This is coming after shell nuts, the oil-rich fruits from the shell tree common in the Savannah belt of Nigeria, and the raw material for shell butter, renowned for its moisturizing, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant properties, while the extracted butter is a principal ingredient in cosmetics for skin and hair, as well as in edible cooking oil. Senators underscored the need for sustained training, capacity building, enhanced safety programs for personnel of the Federal Road Safety Corps, stressing that continuous professional development remains critical to efficient road safety administration across the country. The call came during the agency's 2025 budget performance review and consideration of the 820 before the Senate Committee on Federal Character and Intergovernmental Affairs. Chairman of the committee, Allwell Oyinso, said modernizing training frameworks within the Corps was non-negotiable if Nigeria must keep pace with evolving road safety demands, emerging technologies, and global best practices. Senate Committee on Finance has issued a warrant of arrest against the Rear General of the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, Hossaini Ishaq Magaji, over his alleged repeated refusal to honor invitations to appear before the committee. The warrant was issued on Thursday during the budget defense session involving the Federal Ministry of Finance and its agencies. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Sani Musa, accused the CAC boss of serially disregarding legislative summons and failing to account for issues relating to the Commission's revenue, and further alleged that the committee had unresolved concerns regarding the reconciliation of CAC revenues. The matter was first raised by Senator Orji Uzo-Kalu, who urged the committee to recommend Magaji's removal from office to President Bola Tinubu, while Kalu argued that failure to comply with legislative oversight undermines the authority of the National Assembly. Oshomole also recommended that the Commission be restrained from spending its internally generated revenue without prior approval from the National Assembly, while the committee subsequently endorsed the proposal to restrict the CAC's access to its internally generated funds pending compliance. House of Representatives Committee on Renewable Energy has directed the Managing Director of the Rural Electrification Agency to appear to March 2 following his absence at an ongoing investigative hearing in Abuja. Chairman of the committee, Honorable Afam Ogene, issued the directive warning that official responsibilities must not be trivialized, and also ordered the agency to submit a comprehensive written response to issues raised by the committee within 48 hours. The committee expressed strong displeasure over the absence of the REA managing director, describing the development as highly disrespectful, warning that such conduct should no longer be tolerated, and called for the issuance of a warrant of arrest through the Inspector General of Police if the directive is not complied with. Responding on behalf of the agency, the Executive Director of Corporate Services, Mr. Boyega Ayoade, tendered an unreserved apology and appealed for more time, insisting that the Managing Director's absence was neither deliberate nor intended to disrespect the committee. Meanwhile, the National President of the Licensed Electrical Contractors Association of Nigeria, Vitus Ikenna, has urged the committee to mandate the use of certified electrical professionals in renewable energy projects nationwide, and also warned that domiciling green energy projects with entities lacking technical capacity could result in substandard installations, safety, and funds.
This parliament has the powers to summon anybody and any institution to explain the use of public funds. Those funds do not belong to the executive, it does not belong to the legislature, neither does it belong to the judiciary. It belongs to the Nigerian people. And the Nigerian people are going to pay for it one way or the other. Now, motion moved and seconded. Those in favor of the motion as moved and seconded, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. Well, the ayes have it, and on this note, the Managing Director of the Rural Electrification Agency, Alhaji Abba Aliyu, and the Managing Director of the Nigerian Electricity Project, Femi Akinyeleru, should appear before this esteemed committee 11 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, February 25th.
The newly appointed Inspector General of Police, IGP Tunji Disu, has outlined critical reform-driven agenda aimed at repositioning the Nigerian police force a modern, accountable, and community-oriented institution. In his handing over address, IGP Disu acknowledged the bravery, professionalism, and resilience of officers who have served the nation through difficult periods, and also identified lingering challenges within the force, including a trust deficit with communities, outdated systems, resource gaps, and instances of misconduct that have undermined police public confidence. To address these concerns, the new police chief declared a three-pronged strategy anchored on professionalism and modernization, accountability and integrity, as well as community partnership, that the force would adopt intelligence-led policing, strengthen forensic investigation capabilities, and deploy digital skills to enhance evidence-based operations while investing in better training and equipment for officers. On accountability, this would declare an end to impunity within the force, stressing that this process would apply at all ranks without exception, and also pledged to strengthen internal oversight mechanisms and improve transparency in order to reinforce adherence to the rule of law.
I know what it means to stand at the post in the rain. I am aware of the risk involved in responding to any distress call. I know what it feels like to serve a public that sometimes applaud you and sometimes distrust you. Those experiences are not behind me. They will live in every decision I make in this office. By the grace of Almighty God, I have been placed in this office to lead you faithfully, honestly, and to serve my nation. It is pleasantly gratifying to know that our service has immense capacity that readily available for deployment to combat the contemporary threats to national security. My tenure will therefore be built on three clear commitments: professionalism, modernism, accountability, integrity, community partnership, and trust. To all officers, I will demand the best from you, because the people who serve deserve nothing less. Integrity, compassion, courage. These are not optional qualities. They are the job. But I make this promise in return. I will fight for your welfare, your dignity, and the conditions you need to serve effectively.
Former IGP Egbetokun spoke about the achievement of professionalism of sister agencies and strategic partners, saying public trust cannot be by authority but end through integrity and measurable results.
Initiatives and investing in capacity development, because morale and professionalism are inseparable in effective policing. Reform was pursued with discipline and clarity. Public trust cannot be commanded by authority. It must be earned through integrity, transparency, and measurable results. These gains were not the achievement of one office. They were the product of collective resilience of officers who served long hours, made difficult decisions, and stood firm in defense of the nation. To those who operated in high-risk environments, who confronted danger so that others might live in peace, I salute your courage. The stability many enjoy today rests quietly upon your sacrifice. To our sister security agencies, strategic partners, and international collaborators, your cooperation strengthened our national security architecture and enhanced operational outcomes.
The Inspector General also stressed on the importance of rebuilding public trust through deeper community engagement, having community policing as a guiding philosophy rather than a mere program. Joint Admission and Matriculation Board has declared its readiness to generate a sum of 23.8 billion naira as its targeted internally generated revenue for 2026 fiscal year, which is 4 billion naira higher than its target for 2025. The Registrar of JAM, Professor Ishak Oloyede, who was represented at the 2026 defense meeting before the Senate on tertiary institutions and debt fund by a director in his office, Dr. Muftau Bello said,
to state that since 2017,
the remitted into the federal government coffers. The director had earlier in his presentation on 2025 budget's performance informed the Senator Montari Danduse-led committee that 18.5 billion naira was generated in the fiscal year as IGR and 4 billion naira remitted to the Federation account as operating surplus.
0.8 billion, while our actual performance was 18.5 billion. For the personnel, the government planned to pay our salary to the tune of 6.6 billion. Eventually, we were paid about 5.7 billion. For our expenditures, for personnel, we actually spent 5.6 billion by the APPS Office of the Accountant General. For overhead, we budgeted 14 billion, but we spent 13 billion. For capital, we budgeted 1.6 and we are spending 1.6. For 2026, we plan to generate 23.8 billion as our IGR, and we intended the federal government will pay about 6.7 for our personnel. So the total IGR revenue is 30.6 billion, while we plan to spend that 24 for both overhead, salary, and capital, leaving us with an operating surplus of 6 billion, and we are remitting about 6 billion to the federal government in 2026.
Impressed by the performance of JAM under the leadership of Professor Olo, the committee, from chairman to members, gave the examination board a pass mark, while Senator Johanna Amos Adamawa North tasked JAM to reduce its examination fee from 3,500 naira it is presently.
Commitment towards ensuring that our children get good admission into the various universities. You have to improve, because year in, year out, some of the enrollment are finding it difficult in the universities and other tertiary institutions because of your lack of synergy between the universities and the JAM. So some of them are ending up without even being properly placed in the course, in the field of study they are supposed to read.
Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi has called for improved funding for the Federal Ministry of Justice, warning that Nigeria's judicial system is grappling with contemporary challenges amid obsolete laws and resource constraints. Presenting the ministry's 2026 budget proposal before the Senate Committee on Judiciary and Legal Matters, the minister said limited capital releases in the 2025 fiscal year hamper the execution of key projects and reform programs. According to him, the ministry's performance in 2025 was constrained by several pressing challenges, including infrastructural deficiencies affecting workspaces, inadequate funding and delayed budgetary releases, as well as human rights concerns such as prison overcrowding and limited access to legal aid, stressing that without increased budgetary support and legislative reforms, efforts to modernize the justice sector and address emerging legal issues will remain difficult.
That the achievements recorded in 2025 were limited by pressing contemporary challenges confronting the justice sector, which include 1. Infrastructural challenges which limit the conducive nature of our workspace, inadequate funding occasioned by budget shortfalls and delayed budgetary releases, human rights concerns such as prison overcrowding and limited access to legal aid, the rise of emerging crimes including cybercrime, terrorism, and transnational or cross-border crimes, financial resources that limit our ability to fulfill constitutional, legal, and international obligations, human resource constraints that limit our ability to undertake the increasing workload in the ministry. To address these challenges, we must combine budgetary support with legislative reforms. Going forward, increased funding is indispensable for the ministry to deliver, the ministry and its agencies to deliver on their future projections and programs, including but not limited to implementation of national policy on justice. This policy provides a comprehensive framework for justice sector reforms, access to justice, human rights protection, and institutional strengthening. Without adequate funding, its implementation will remain aspirational rather than transformative. Law reforms. Many of our laws are outdated and no longer responsive to contemporary realities. Increased funding, therefore, will support the review, drafting, and enactment of progressive legislation that aligns with global best practices and address emerging challenges.
In their response, members of the committee urged the ministry to thoroughly and identify priority areas that require improvement to ensure greater efficiency and measurable impact in the justice sector.
He is right there, and he appreciates the complexity of the challenge, as it were. Because as a nation, we are worried as a Senate about the delays in releases. And a number of us share that opinion, that the old system is better. Because the delay is dangerous, especially where it affects the justice sector, which is at the heart of our social cohesion. Where the justice sector is is delayed, where your performance is delayed or is hamstrung through bureaucratic bottlenecks, then the system is put under pressure. So it is very important that we have an organization. We have a process that responds speedily to the demands of the justice sector.
And then we're looking for a supplementary budget. So I want the ministry to also, this is the budget period. If you believe that this will take care of all your requests, fine. But if the event, after our visit and comments we made, there is a desire to improve this budget, you can also make the point now, and we will tell you what to do, so that it will form part of our defense at the appropriation committee.
God bless you.
Leaders of the African Democratic Congress and the New Nigeria People's Party have called on the National Assembly to commence a fresh process to amend the Electoral Act. Speaking on behalf of the opposition at a press conference in Abuja on Thursday, NNPP National Chairman Ajuji Ahmed urged federal lawmakers to expunge all objectionable provisions contained in the Act. Prominent opposition figures at the meeting included former Senate President David Mark, NNPP Chieftain Buba Galadima, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, as well as an ADC National Secretary Rauf Aregbesola, former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi, and the party's National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi, alongside other stakeholders. Others present included Senator Dino Melaye, former ADC National Chairman Ralph Nwosu, and former Cross River State Governor Lee Imoke, among several dignitaries. African Democratic Congress has strongly condemned as what it described as a gun attack and attempted assassination of former Governor John Oyegun, party leader Peter Obi, and Olumide Akwata, who recently joined the ADC in Edo State and had threatened to summons the case before the ECOWAS court. A statement signed by East National Publicity Secretary Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, the party accused the ruling All Progressives Congress APC of fostering political violence, while the ADC claimed the attack formed part of a wider pattern of intimidation against opposition figures across the country. According to the party, the shooting was not a random event deliberate to frighten and silence political opponents, adding that using gunfire against politicians in a democratic system is unacceptable and dangerous. The ADC also expressed concern over recent remarks by Edo State Governor Monday Bobelo, while the governor had previously stated that he could not guarantee Peter Obi's safety if he visited the state, and further accused him of claiming that the ADC sponsors cult groups while also threatening to demolish properties linked to opposition members. The party describes such a statement as reckless and capable of escalating tensions in the state, adding that no governor or political party owns any state in Nigeria, and that all citizens have the right to move freely, speak openly, and participate in politics without fear. All Progressives Congress APC has constituted subcommittees for the upcoming 2026 National Convention as part of preparations to ensure a transparent and credible convention. A statement by the party's national spokesman Felix Morka said the committees are mandated to coordinate critical operational, administrative, electoral, logistics, security, and program activities necessary for the seamless conduct of the convention. The party tasked all committee members to discharge their responsibilities with diligence and in strict adherence to the party's constitution and approved guidelines, and also reassured members, stakeholders, and Nigerians of his commitment to conducting a credible and transparent national convention that further strengthens internal democracy and consolidates its progressive ideals. The National Universities Commission has issued a fresh guidelines regulating the award and use of honorary doctorate degrees in Nigeria, while expressing worry over the increasing incidence of indiscriminate conferment and misuse of such honors within the Nigerian university system. A statement on its official X page on Thursday, the Commission said the guidelines were approved pursuant to its powers under the Education National Minimum Standards and Establishment of Institutions Act Cap E3, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, adding that the new framework was designed to regulate the conferment process, preserve academic integrity, and safeguard the credibility and global reputation of the Nigerian university system. And that appropriate regulatory sanctions will be imposed on institutions and individuals found to have violated the approved guidelines, while reminding the public that honorary doctorate degrees, whether awarded within Nigeria or abroad, are honorary distinctions and should not be regarded as equivalent to earned academic doctorate qualifications. Executive Secretary of the NUC, Professor Abdullahi Yusufu Ribadu, said the guidelines were developed with due regard to established academic traditions in Nigeria, including the resolutions of the Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, as articulated in the CAFE Declaration of 2012, and imputes submitted by universities in December 2005, stressing that the framework is intended to provide informed policy direction, strengthen institutional practices, and promote a more transparent and accountable system for the award and use of honorary doctorate degrees in Nigeria. The NUC launched the guidelines after an investigation reviewed widespread misuse of honorary doctorate degrees in Nigeria. Organized labor in the Federal Public Sector Service has issued a Friday deadline to the federal government, demanding the immediate release of funds to settle 3 months for outstanding wage awards and other spending allowances owed to workers across ministries, departments and agencies. The leadership of the Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council trade union side conveyed the ultimatum in a letter addressed to the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, warning that failure to meet the February 27, 2026 deadline would compel the 8 unions in the civil service to take decisive action. The unions accused the government of withholding funds meant for workers, alleging that relevant agencies were prepared to process payments once the Ministry of Finance released the required funds, stressing that the wage award disputes, which has persisted for over 2 years, followed the federal government's approval of the 70,000 naira minimum wage after the removal of fuel subsidy. Labor leaders said although partial payments were made after sustained pressure, 3 months remain unpaid since July 2024, heightening tension within the federal workforce, while the unions also recalled that the wage award was approved as a cautionary measure following fuel subsidy removal and was to run until the commencement of the new minimum wage implementation in July 2024. They stated that workers' entitlements must not be treated with levity and that employees should not be subjected to undue hardship over delayed payment. And now some business news. Executive order issued by President Bola Tinubu stopping the deduction of management fees and the Frontier Exploration Fund by the Nigerian National Petroleum Commission, National Petroleum Company Limited, has effectively halted revenue streams that generated about 2.76 trillion naira in 4 years. An analysis of monthly earnings submitted to the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee reviewed that the National Oil Company received 20.739 billion naira from the deductions in 2005, brought the total to about 2.1 trillion naira between 2022 and 2005, and the development followed the President's directive that all revenues due to the Federation must be remitted in full, without prior deductions, in line with constitutional fiscal provisions and transparency reforms in the oil and gas sector. The order, which prioritizes constitutional fiscal provisions governing the Federation account over certain operational funding arrangements under the Petroleum Industry Act, specifically halts automatic deductions such as management fees and contributions to the Frontier Exploration Fund from oil and gas revenues before remittance, insisting that all earnings must first be paid into the Federation account in line with the Constitution. The move has sparked varying reactions. State governments and fiscal transparency advocates have welcomed the order, saying it will boost distributable revenues, strengthen accountability, and address long-standing concerns about opaque deductions. However, industry players and legal analysts warn that the order could create tensions between statutory provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act and constitutional fiscal rules, potentially leading to policy uncertainty, and also argue that frontier exploration and joint venture funding mechanisms were designed to support reserve growth and operational efficiency, and caution that abrupt changes could slow investment and affect production if alternative funding models are not provided. Executive Chairman of the Nigeria Revenue Service, Zak Adedeji, says the total target for taxes, royalty, and other minerals in 2026 is 40.7 trillion naira, in line with the tax reforms. Adedeji made the President, including the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, as well as the Minister of Budget and National. Wale Edun appeared before the House Committee on Appropriation in Abuja. 2025 budget, as well as the proposal for 2026, adding that for the year 2025, the revenue target for the service was 25.2 trillion naira, an increase of 3.5 trillion naira compared to actual revenue collected in 2024, adding that the service succeeded in 2025 targets by collecting 28.23 trillion naira.
So for the year 2025, the revenue target for the service was 25.2 trillion naira, an increase of 3.5 trillion compared to actual revenue collected in 2024. The service has exceeded the 2025 target by collecting 28.23 trillion. This is due to exceptional performance from non-oil taxes as shown in the table that I have here. The document will surely be distributed. So non-oil taxes exceeded their target by collecting 21.46 trillion, an increase of 3.4 trillion against the target, which is 90%. Meanwhile, oil taxes fell short of the target by 5.2%. Overall, the service exceeded its target by, which is 12% compared to the target we have for 2025. When you compare 2025 performance to 2024, the service collected 6.5 trillion more than what we did in 2024. That is an increase of 30.3%.
The lawmakers queried the zero capital performance in the 2025 budget. One Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, said there was a heavy reliance on ways and means financing to cover large fiscal deficit before the administration of President Bola Tinubu, while NNPC funded the petrol subsidy through an under-recovery arrangement. According to Edun, this approach was not unsustainable. Minister of Budget and National Planning, Atiku Bagudu, said in various sessions with the National Assembly, one of the agreements was the 70% of the capital for 2025-2026.
November 2025, FGN revenue performance was approximately 60% prorated to 37.13 trillion. That's not as at September, as was reported by His Excellency Mr. President. The figures are updated now till November. And there was a shortfall on the budget. And that stemmed largely from underperformance of oil and gas revenue. On the expenditure side, year-to-date November, spending stands at 88%.
One of the agreements was to move 70% of the capital for 2025 into 2026. And that is part of the budget proposal before the 2026 budget proposal that is with the National Assembly. The 2026 budget, as far as we know from the Ministry of Budget and Budget Office, contain all those agreements that the executive side agreed with the National Assembly. Secondly, on the budget performance figures, Ministry of Budget and Planning, including of course the Budget Office, relies on the Office of the Accountant General and in so doing the Ministry of Finance for data about budget implementation.
Committee's decision to revenue NRL was to share more revenue 2026 from
we engaged the economic team to Mr. President to discuss the previous performance of the 2025 as well as the proposed 2026 budget we have here before us. We also decided to engage the chairman of NRS to shed more light about the revenues in terms of the 2026 projections. As we are all aware that 2025, we have achieved almost 28 trillion from our revenue, which is beyond to 25 trillion as targeted in the 2025. And of course, we passed tax laws. We believe that even the projection 40 trillion, we need to have more information from you so that Nigeria can see how important that we have. And we also want to hear from the Minister of Budget to shed more light about the implementation roles under his ministry in 2026 2026 as well as the previous 2025.
His TV study sit down and news for tonight. Before we go, a quick look through our major stories. Fubara warns against unauthorized political meetings. Tinubu urges Senate to endorse state pleas. Senate committee issues arrest warrant for CAC Registrar General. 13 banks battle March 31 recapitalization deadline. Pakistan militants kill 15 police personnel, 4 civilians, and Super Falcons camp gets 15 players ahead of Cameroon clash. Court investigate death of Chimamanda Adichie's son. I am Favor. Chief question, Michael. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on social media platforms on Twitter, Atlantic TV, Facebook, and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, and on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. And don't forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. To have a wonderful night rest.
The board, management, and staff of Morrison Media Group presents the 2026 Anniversary Celebration Lecture of Morrison Media Group. Theme: Media's role in shaping social change, addressing inequities, and empowering voices. Chairman Alex Ndudi Enebele, FSM, President, Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, Chartered. Keynote speaker, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Professor of Media and Broadcasting Communication. Panelist, Professor Chris Ochonogo, Immediate Past Head of Department, Journalism and Media Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Ijoma Tobosia, Secretary, NUJ, River State. Dr. Sarah Joe, University Orator and Associate Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media, River State University, Port Harcourt. Dr. Ibiere Koki, Ignatius Aju University of Education, Rumolomini, Port Harcourt. Chief Host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, Chairman, Morrison Group. Date: Tuesday, 10th March 2026. Venue: Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5, East West Road, adjacent Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time: 10 a.m. For more information, please call Kainde Paul Obofadi 081-063-41777 or Samuel Ajinwo at 090-454-00744. Signed, Management.